combination of a flat tire and fate have changed the lives of many people. But how many men besides Leo A. Wexler of Newton can claim that 4 deliberate flat tires have started them on the road to a multi-million-dollar business? Wexler's entry into New England's highly competitive construction industry began not with a bang, but a hiss. The hiss of air escaping from the tires of a trailer truck. The truck was making the transfer of the first of 7 dismantled Army barracks from Camp Miles Standish in Wellesley for temporary veterans housing. For 2 previous years, contractors had cut these barracks into 4-by-8-foot sections before transporting them into new sites. Wexler was certain that the 100-foot-long barracks could be moved in 50-foot sections, saving time and reconstruction costs. The method may sound like the simplest and most obvious solution. Yet, town officials had hesitated to award the contract to the newly formed Wexler Construction Company, although it had underbid its nearest competitor by a good $10,000. Cutting the building and loading it onto the truck caused not a single unexpected problem. All was going well, until he reached the underpass on the old Route 128 near Needham. At this point, Wexler discovered the bridge, which according to the official sign had a clearance of 14 feet, was actually 1.5 inches lower. The truck chassis had been piled to take full advantage of the 14-foot clearance, and so could not possibly pass. It was impossible to go by another route because of police regulations, and to return and further dismantle the barracks would be an admission that the whole plan, on which his reputation rested, was impracticable. Wexler gave orders to let the air out of all the tires, making it possible for the truckers to drive through on the rims with plenty of room to spare. Once under the bridge, drivers re-inflated the tires and continued on. As an anticlimax, it should be noted that Wexler's success caught a practical-minded architect in Wellesley completely off base. Despite all assurances, the architect had expected Wexler's plan to fail. The truck's arrival on schedule at 7 a.m. caused no small consternation. No planks had been laid across the ditch surrounding the site. Plenty of time to do that in the morning, decided the architect. As a result, the 50-foot-long trailer truck was forced to a standstill in front of the ditch, just as early morning traffic was becoming heavy. When the architect was roused from his sleep by the police and dispatched to the building site, he found that his lack of faith in the contractor's promises had caused the worst traffic snarl in Wellesley's history. Wexler's truck was the central point in a 2-hour traffic jam. Unorthodoxy and a fresh new approach to old construction problems have distinguished Wexler's work on many occasions. Better methods and greater efficiency, says Wexler, are really the only keys to a successful construction business. Materials are specified by the architect. Wages are controlled by the union. The only place a contractor can save money is by improving his efficiency. Efficiency, mixed with imagination, has marked almost every job done by the Wexler Construction Company. Early in his career, Wexler confounded officials of Boston's Logan International Airport with one of his innovations. The firm had contracted to construct a wooden control tower on the airfield. When completed, it was to be 60 feet high and topped by a warning light for planes. 5 weeks after construction began, the builder was summoned to the office of field officials. They knew the firm they had hired was doing something on the other side of the field because each day truckloads of workers arrived and moved busily about. But the deadline for completion of the building was only 1 week away. Would the tower be completed on time? Fortunately, they had picked the right day to ask the question which had been bothering them. At 5 o'clock tonight, Wexler told them, "Look out that window. You'll see your building standing on the other side of the field, completed." At 5 o'clock, officials looked from their window. There stood the tower, firmly rooted in the ground and topped by a red warning light. The tower walls had been built flat, right there on the ground. When they had been completed, checked, and tested, they were bolted together in an upright position. The observation room had also been built on the ground and then swung into position by a 30-ton crane. Bolting the room to the tower walls and inserting glass windows took only a few hours. The building is still in use 8 years later. Since 1948, the firm has completed more than $25 million worth of construction. It has built housing developments for more than 1,000 families, educational facilities for over 4,000 children, and carried out millions of dollars worth of defense projects. It has also filled a number of contracts for private firms. Wexler graduated from Boston University in the middle of the Depression. Jobs were scarce in 1931, the year of his graduation, and he counted himself lucky to find temporary employment as a day laborer or truck driver. Wexler became a superintendent for a local construction concern. During 14 years, he built a name for himself within the company as a dependable and conscientious worker. Then came a 2-month sickness, and when it was over, Wexler was out of a job. He then became a carpenter contractor, and after a few minor jobs, he landed the Wellesley housing contract, which established him permanently in the roster of New England's leading builders. When Leo Wexler gets that "I've got an idea" look in his eyes these days, his clients no longer become disturbed. By now, they have come to expect that revolutionary technique will be used on their project to cut down on time and costs. Wexler's ingenuity has built schools, hospitals, and government projects throughout New England. Among projects which the Wexler Construction Company has completed are U.S. Army anti-aircraft facilities in Reading and Nahant, airmen's dormitories, and the new mess building at Hanscom Air Force Base in Bedford, housing projects in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. Among current projects is Westwood's new $1,317,000 high school. But for those 4 flat tires a few years ago, Wexler's future might have been different. Instead of building a name as a dependable and efficient builder, he would have had to live down a reputation as a man whose ideas were too unique to fit under a bridge.